Each and every single member of the Straw Hats ended up having a fairly good timeline after the decision to be a full-time pirate. But have you ever wondered what each of their storylines would end up being if they took a complete opposite path? In this video, we'll explore an alternative storyline of each Straw Hat, from Luffy's descent into the darkness to Zoro getting taken over by his inner demons. We'll explore the difficult paths each of them might have taken. Also, by the end of this video, let us know which timeline you preferred, the one in this video or the original. Without further ado, let's dive straight into this thrilling what-if scenarios. We begin with the 10th Straw Hat member, Jinbe. In this dark timeline, when 𝚬𝚘𝚡 decides to travel to the surface with the celestial dragon, Jinbe serves as a bodyguard. After exploring the surface world with 𝚬𝚘𝚡, he decides he wants humans and fishmen to coexist and work together. Jinbe ultimately decides to become a marine. Discrimination is to be expected given his fishman identity. Despite this barrier, he joins the Marines. He works hard, advances through the ranks, and eventually becomes a vice admiral and a highly respected figure in the Marines. His presence in the surface world will eventually lead to an increase in the number of fishermen joining the Marines. He gets nicknamed the first son of the sea, similar to the original timeline, but in contrary, he is renowned for being a ruthless sea pirate hunter, essentially any sea dweller's worst nightmare. Next up is the 9th Straw Hat member, One Piece sniffer Brook. In this timeline, Brook has always been a marine. He went into the Marines at the age of 20 and rose to the rank of Vice Admiral by the time he was 25. During his time as a Vice Admiral, he discovered and ate the revived fruit. A few years later, Brook met and befriended Monkey D. Garp, a recruit who would later be recognized as one of the strongest Marines in history. Brook would follow Garp and Bogart in the God Valley incident when he was 52 years old, 38 years before the present. Brook will eventually face and die against Rox D. Zebek at the God Valley incident. He would later return thanks to the revived fruit to God Valley Island. However, when he returned, the island had disappeared. He then searched for God Valley but came up empty-handed. He then decided to search the marine bases for his body. After a while, he discovered Garp had brought his body back. Funnily, as Brook's body began to skeletonize, Garp concluded Brook's revived fruit had failed and buried his skeleton body. As a result of this massive comedic blunder, it took Brook's soul 1 month of self-struggle to return to his body and unbury himself. Brook eventually rises from the ground and returns to the Marines, much like a zombie does. Afterwards, Brook went on to become a Marine instructor, where he taught recruits swordsmanship. Until today, Zoro was one of the trainees Brook planned to instruct. In this storyline, Brook earns his fame as the Soul Hunter. Moving on, we meet the 8th Straw Hat member, Franky. In this dark timeline, the world government rejects Franky's mentor Tom the offer to build the sea train. He is later executed for building Roger's pirate ship. Franky was 12 years old at that time. Tom was sent on a ship to Enies Lobby for his execution. Franky would jump on the ship and follow Tom. On this day, a terrible storm would destroy Franky's boat and Franky would be thrown into the sea. Franky would later wake up on a pirate ship. He would be found and rescued by the Whitebeard Pirates. The Whitebeard Pirates are headed to one of the island territories in the paradise. The island is called Karakuri Island. In this timeline, Dr. Vegapunk is allied and is close friends with Whitebeard, as Whitebeard has his protection over Vegapunk and his island. Dr. Vegapunk doesn't work for the world government, he works with pirates with the most money. Currently, Vegapunk works for the Whitebeard Pirates. Franky and the Whitebeard Pirates land on Karakuri Island. Franky knows about Vegapunk, as in this timeline, Vegapunk and Caesar are the two rivaled smartest men in the world. Franky asks Vegapunk to become his apprentice. Vegapunk agrees after being convinced by Franky. Fast forward 10 years, Franky is now a world-class inventor. He's an inventor way more superior in every aspect than current timeline Franky. Franky is now 22 years old. Having taught Franky everything, Vegapunk allows Franky to leave and Franky returns to Water 7 with a plan. He finds Iceberg. They have a reunion. Franky tells Iceberg he's going to change Water 7 for the better and Iceberg decides to follow Franky with his plans. 14 years later, in the present day, Water 7 is now the Egghead Island of the Dark Timeline. Water 7 is the capital of water and technology now. This country is independent from the world government and has the strength to fight for themselves. Franky single-handedly turned Water 7 into a powerful nation. Water 7's power would be tested as the world government launched a buster call on them. That buster call would be single-handedly annihilated by Franky's android army. Franky would fight and beat all 5 Vice Admirals, then fight on equal terms with Admiral Kizaru and beat him by sheer luck, saving Water 7. So how did Franky get this ridiculously strong? During his 14 years of time in Water 7, Franky created strong androids that protect his city from threats. Whether it is Marines, pirates or the world government, Franky intends to protect his people from outside forces so he won't lose anyone again like Tom. His androids are called Frankoids. They help the people and the community and they protect them as well. All Frankoids have the ability to fly, extreme strength and speed, climate adaptation, energy absorption and projection, for example, laser attacks. Because of the energy absorption ability of Frankoids, any energy and physical attacks thrown at them is absorbed, which makes the Frankoids even stronger. However, with strong enough haki, they can be caught or overpowered. Franky, in order to become stronger, decided to transfer his soul into the most advanced android he has built. The android is made from a mixture of the strongest metal in the world and sea stone, granting Franky's android invulnerability. While the android's insides are machinery, his android's outward appearance takes the form of Franky's human form. Franky has the ability to control and manipulate all his creations. He has the ability of the Frankoids, but stronger. Franky also has gravity manipulation, invisibility and permeation, which he learned from Vegapunk. If you're confused about what permeation is, remember Egghead arc where the Straw Hats walked through a solid wall? Yes, that ability is called permeation. Franky, Water 7's protector, becomes known as the god of machines. It is now time for our beloved reindeer, Chopper's timeline. In this dark timeline, Chopper is a human. Chopper does not eat the Hito no Mi, human devil fruit. He eats the Shika no Mi, moral Wendigo, reindeer devil fruit, moral Wendigo in English translation. He was only 6 when he ate this devil fruit. His backstory is drastically different. After eating this devil fruit, he accidentally killed his parents, and with the monster form he had, he was despised and feared by the villagers. He got shot at, attacked by the villagers, due to which he ran away in fear and sadness. Instead of running into Hidelic, he runs into Cyberpol agent Robin. Robin was in Drum Island to kill Hidelic. After it was discovered, he found a cure to cancer. After her mission, she happened to stumble upon Chopper's village and she watched Chopper's entire incident unfold. After the villagers drove Chopper out, Robin followed after Chopper, only to find him back in human form, crying. Robin confronts Chopper. Chopper is afraid of hurting Robin. Robin comforts Chopper by showing him they are the same. Robin is also a devil fruit user. Robin adopts Chopper and they leave Drum Island. Following her mother Robin, Chopper becomes a Cyberpol agent and later joins CP0 with Robin. Chopper's devil fruit gives him enhanced speed, strength, durability, agility, reflexes and overall heightened senses. He also has night vision, healing factor and sharp, retractable claws. He's at weakest during the day, but at night all his abilities are amplified by the moon, just like the Minks, and they are even more supercharged in the presence of a full moon. Chopper has also learned the 6 powers and as armament haki, Chopper becomes known as the Phantom Beast. Next, we meet the 6th Straw Hat member, fan favorite Nico Robin. In this timeline, Robin doesn't really have any ties to Ohara. Instead of Olvia leaving baby Robin by herself at Ohara, she brings Robin with her. However, 3 months after they started their voyage, they are caught in a storm where Olvia and her entire crew dies and Robin, 2-year-old at the time, survives by some miracle. Robin would later be found and rescued by a marine ship. The officers on that ship decide to put her in a Cyberpol training camp where she would be raised to be an agent for the government. Back to the present day, she is now a full-fledged Cyberpol agent, currently a member of the strongest Cyberpol unit, CP0. She has the same devil fruit, the Hana no Mi, now fully awakened. She has learned and mastered the 6 powers and as armament and observation haki, she becomes renowned as the Empress of the Unseen Order. Upcoming, we have our favorite navigator, cat burglar Nami. Nami's backstory is still the same. However, instead of being saved by Luffy, she will save her village and beats the Along pirates herself. After stealing money from other pirates, she returned home back to Kokoyashi village. Her pile of cash was in the same place as the current timeline, under Belmer's Tangerine Garden. As she was walking through Belmer's garden, she sees a strange looking tangerine. The tangerine has sharp shaped pointy edges on it and a very unusual blue color, it's a devil fruit. Nami eats the devil fruit and becomes a lightning woman. She ate the Goro Goro no Mi. Nami beats the Arlong pirates and reunites with the village people. Following in Belmer's footsteps, Nami decides to become a marine. She joins the marines and with the help of her lightning Logia, she advances quickly. Due to Nami's expertise and metrology, she masters the Logia fruit to a dangerously powerful extent. Due to how insanely strong the lightning Logia is, she rises to the top of the marine hierarchy, becoming a vice admiral with Usopp. Nami becomes known as the Thunder Cat. Now we enter the timeline of the top 3 strongest Straw Hat, who are famously known as the Monster Trio, plus Usopp, who is a god in his own right. We begin with Sanji. His backstory with the Windsmokes is the same. Afterwards, Sanji is taken by a pirate crew and forced to be the ship's cook. He is then saved by a marine, Vice Admiral Zeph. Sanji's backstory is the same here, except Zeph is a marine. Sanji now works for and is raised by Zeph, who retires and opens a restaurant called the Barati. Barati's most frequent customers are Garp, Luffy and Usopp, Luffy's best friend. Through this, Sanji becomes friends with the 3 of them. A major incident occurs. This incident ends with the destruction of the Barati and the death of Zeph and the other cooks. The event was caused by Vice Captain Mihawk of the Buggy Pirates. The 4 Yonkos are Whitebeard, Kaido, Shanks and Buggy. In this dark timeline, Buggy is an actual Yonko and is as strong as Shanks. He's not the weak clown we know. Sanji joins the Marines in hopes of becoming strong enough to protect the people from pirates and fight and get revenge on the Yonkos for killing its only family. Sanji advances and learns very quickly. After only 2 years, he unlocks observation and armament haki. Garp teaches Sanji to kick like his punches. He also teaches Sanji armament haki, turning his attacks into monstrously destructive kicks. In this dark timeline, Usopp is a Marine Vice Admiral and it teaches Sanji observation haki. Sanji learns and awakens advanced future sight. He can now see up to 10 seconds into the future. Usopp also teaches him a rare technique and ability which allows you to erase the observation haki of yourself and others. On top of mastering haki, Sanji also learns and masters the 6 powers. Currently, Sanji is a Vice Admiral with Usopp. He's strong enough to be an Admiral. However, the 3 Admiral positions have already been filled. The next in line to replace an Admiral, if they were to retire or die, will be Sanji. Sanji becomes known as Flashfoot Sanji. Speaking of God, we meet the legendary Usopp. This Usopp will be very different from the Usopp that we know. Instead of being proud of his father, Yasopp, he developed a deep hatred for his father and pirates. This hatred pushes Usopp to go to the Marines, all in the hopes of getting strong enough to kill Yasopp. Usopp ditches the boring slingshot and now has a sniper rifle. Usopp unlocks all 3 haki types: observation, armament and conquerors. He has also learned to coat his bullets with armament haki. He has the most advanced version of observation haki in the Marines and is currently being taught by Garp and Luffy how to use conquerors. Usopp has multiple advanced observation haki techniques: future sight, where you can see 10 seconds into the future, the observation haki eraser, trajectory manipulation haki and long distance aura sight. Dressrosa Usopp haki. He has mastered 4 of the 6 powers: Skywalk, Iron Body, Shave and Tempest Kick. This Usopp is like Usopp and Sanji hybrid. He shoots with his hands and kicks with his legs. Because of constant therapeutic training, he stops being afraid of everything and now has an unshakable confidence. Usopp becomes known as the Chameleon, as he's like an invisible enemy. His presence is erased because of him being an observation haki killer, and like a stealthy assassin, he snipes from a distance, making it clear to his enemies he's always present despite not being actually present. Moving on, we have the second strongest of the monster trio, Marimo Zoro. In this timeline, instead of Axe Hand Morgan being a marine, he's a pirate. Zoro is saved the same way, but not by Luffy, but by Law. After Law beats Morgan and frees Zoro, Zoro wants to fight Law. In this dark timeline, Luffy, Law and Kid are the current admirals. Law gives a condition that if Zoro loses, he will have to join the Marines and climb the ranks. Zoro agrees and they fight. Zoro loses. Law tells Zoro if he wants to become the world's greatest swordsman, becoming an admiral is the best position in achieving that goal. Becoming an admiral gives you world recognition and it may grant you the possibility of facing Yonko Commander Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. Zoro joins the Marines. He now has all 3 advanced form of haki and has full mastery of the 6 powers. He has become a Vice Admiral. Few years later, Admiral Kid is killed by Yonko Shanks and Zoro replaces that position, becoming the new Admiral. his terrifying feats as an admiral echo throughout the One Piece world, and he is fearfully nicknamed by pirates as Marimosame, Green Shark. Last but definitely not least, we meet Luffy. In this timeline, Luffy is a marine, not a pirate. If Kobe became that stronger only after training with Garp for measly 2 years, Luffy, with the same 12 years of training he did as a teenager with his devil fruit, easily surpasses current old Garp. Unlike Garp, due to his rubber powers, he is able to utilize and concentrate advanced Haki in every part of his body. Imagine the damage his dong impact would do. It would be mental, not to mention considering he always picks his nose and throws his booger. He could coat that same booger with advanced Haki and use it on his enemies as a deadly ammunition. Having Garp's blood, Luffy is a creative fighter and a battle genius. Also, he has the same winning mentality as all top tiers. This includes all the admirals and the yonkos. In this dark timeline, Luffy is like Akainu, but unlike Akainu, he has trained with his anger management issues. He now knows how to mix his insane anger with his supreme talents without letting emotions get the best of his battle IQ. This race ability makes him the deadliest marine out there in terms of power without undergoing awakening. As a normal marine, he has far surpassed Gear 5 Luffy. After awakening his sun god Nikarude, he becomes the most powerful marine ever by a huge margin. Even though he and Roger haven't exchanged punches, those that have witnessed his power expect him to be 3 times stronger than Pirate King Roger. In this timeline, Luffy grows to become the fleet admiral of the marines and he is feared by pirates and marines alike. He is nicknamed Akazaru, the Red Monkey.